Hey guys, it's Vandiezo, back again from the Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. And let's get one started. Today we have Lyrical Monasterio Astesice. Now you may be wondering, why am I doing a Lyrical Monasterio decks when I'm pretty sure they've been out for almost a month now, if not a month? Well, the reason why is because I was originally going to do them, but I wanted to finish the set 3 decks first because I cared more about the set 3 decks than I care about Lyrical Monasterio. I'm not saying I don't like Lyrical Monasterio because I really do like the stuff from Lyrical Monasterio. There's only one deck that I don't really like that much. But the reason I wanted to finish set 3 first because I like a lot of those decks more than this one or all these decks. So now we're doing the Lyrical Monasterio stuff now. So let's go ahead and get this started. First up, we have our Mermaid Girls, so we'll start off with them, which is the first ride line, and the grade 0 of it is Astesice Mion, 6k base, 5k shield, grade 0 with boost, auto wins road upon if you win second, draw a card. Nothing too special about it, standard starter, but hey, it's a part of the Astesice ride line, and even though they don't really need the starter, I think there's only one ride line from Lyrical Monasterio in general that needs the starter, so I don't have to put it, but hey, it's focused on the Mermaid line, which is the Astesice line, and then might as well run it. Trigger-wise, we run 1 over trigger in Mysterious Twins, Romia and Rumia. Now, here's the funny thing about the over trigger from Lyrical Monasterio. It has 6 different variants, because the Lyrical Monasterio has 6 over triggers, except they're only different in name and art. Everything else is the same, which means the power, the shield, the type of trigger, which is obviously over trigger, and their additional effect, which sucks, but at the same time makes sense. It would be very unfair that Lyrical Monasterio just casually gets 6 over triggers and everyone else is left with 1. So, I mean, they might have 5 over triggers, not 6. Anyways, onto the skill of the over trigger. Standard over trigger ability, you may only have 1 over trigger in your deck. When revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of your 8, against 1 million for the turn. If revealed during your draft check, activate additional effect, which is additional effect. During this fight, you get, during your turn, all of your rear guards get plus 10. So, first off, you get the draw, you get the million, regardless if you damage check it or not. So, I mean, damage or drive check it. So, really nice that you basically have a defensive/aggressive unit for the turn that cannot be hit and cannot be blocked unless by PG. And the additional effect. Now, they took this right out of Dark State's playbook because their over trigger has a similar additional effect where it's during the fight and the player themselves get it. So, it's like Persona Ride, where even if your units aren't present on the board when this goes off, or say for example you ride on top of a different unit, you get to keep the ability because it's you as the player. Now I'm pretty sure what it means by that is if you're playing a rotation fight and the player switches, then yeah, I'm pretty sure the trigger wears off. But either way, that's really good because that's a permanent plus 10 to your rear guards. So automatically your 2 side columns are hitting for plus 20 on whatever their original number was if they're boosted. And then your back center gets a plus 10. And then the Vanguard's the only one that's neutral, but that's fine when you got big ass numbers on the other side. And Lyrical Monasterio, I guess Bermuda's before could pump out a really big number. So giving them this in premium is scary. But then Lyrical Monasterio, since they're the inherent... they have the power of old Bermuda. Does that mean they are going to have the actual full-on power force of Bermuda plus this 10k and then wreck through everything? Who knows? I think Japanese meta speaks for us, though. So 1 copy of Rumia and Romania. I said their names wrong. Next up, we have 3 front triggers in Glee Singing Totiel. I don't know how many people are on front triggers. I have not seen any other Lyrical Monasterio builds. So, I run front triggers because... yeah, for Kari in specifics, you do bounce 2 rear guards to hand, so they're going to miss the triggers. But at the same time, your other rear guard that's still in the front row, it's going to get the triggers. Might as well pump it up, just in case. That's why I like the fronts. And also just for early game rush when you're going for it, because this deck can afford to pull out an early game rush, so 3 copies, because Kari bounces stuff. 4 copies of Knowledge's Power Sasuke, or Saki, because, you need draws, you need hand cards. There's no special fronts, so might as well run this at 4, because, like I said earlier, you do need hand cards. You want to be able to call more stuff, especially with Kari bouncing them back, so you can at least afford to be slightly more aggressive. So 4 copies of Sasuke. I cannot say that card's name. Next up, we have the critical trigger, Astesice Misa, the grade 0 critical trigger. There's once more no special triggers in Lyrical Monasterio, so there's no point in not running Astesice because... might as well make the whole ride line physically possible if available. And, you want those extra crits to make the Vanguard a bit more of a crit pressure, because already they don't want to take the rear guards because they have really big numbers, so they kind of want to PG those. Well, now they have to force out more for the Vanguard if they know you run crit. So 4 copies of Misa. And then 4 copies of her heal trigger, Astesice Kanami, because, hey, why not? She's also really cute. Not in the weird way. Just, cute as a friend, not cute as in date cute, I guess. On to our grade 1s. We run 2 copies of Dreaming Pupils Emmeline. 7k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Continuous rear. If you have 3 or more of the rear guards, this unit gets +5. So it's a 12k. It's a 12k if you have 3 or more of the rear guards, and that's during both players' turns. So all around, that's really good for a booster / early swinger. And like I said earlier with Kari, you can basically bounce stuff back to hand, so you can afford to go for an early rush. And as long as they don't murder your rear guards with stuff like Eugene, you should be able to pull them back. So 2 copies of Emmeline. 3 copies of Blue-Haired Prodigy Recess. 3k base, 5k shield, grade 1 with boost. Auto when it's placed on rear, choose one of your other units, it gets +10 for the turn. So that's really good. You know, oh, it has to be other units. I don't know why I thought this said your unit. I know I never used this wrong before, but still, like, it's a 3k base, and it's not that good of a booster. Now, if you put it to a unit in the same column as it, it's essentially still a 13k booster, but, oh god, recess. Like, at least it's for free. That's my benefit out of it. At least it's for free. That is why I run this over, Munching Girl, the one that Soul Blast one when placed. Look at the top card, either call it or add it to hand and discard something. Because while they both have the same power, this one can at least make something stronger. And while they're both on places, difference is this is for free. The other one costs a Soul Blast, and your only way of bouncing is with Kari, who also costs a Soul Blast. So yeah, Recess gets in this deck because she's free. 3 copies. 4 copies of Diva, Refreshing, Calm, Christine. Thankfully, we do have, even though we don't have like the special crits and fronts, at least we have like the special PG. Grade 1 boost, 0 shield at 6k base. Continue Sentinel, you have to 4 Sentinels in your deck. Auto when it's placed on guard circle, choose one of your units and it cannot be until the battle. If your hand has 2 or more cards, choose a card from hand and discard it. So standard new PG, you know, if this and only one other card in your hand when you use this, you don't have to discard anything, which is really nice because you can be as aggressive as you want. In my opinion, it doesn't fit Kari as much because Kari is the deck that you bounce a lot with, and it's after your Persona. If your opponent Persona rides, then yeah, this will be useful. But if they don't Persona ride, in my opinion, it's not as useful because I played a lot of games with Kari, and it doesn't really help out that much afterwards with that ability. But either way, still a really good PG, really nice having, especially with the mermaid line. I wish we had more mermaids, because I wanted to make a whole mermaid-based deck, but I don't think we have enough mermaids. If we did, then I just missed over a lot of them. 4 copies of Christine. 1 copy of our last grade 1 in our main grade 1 for the ride line, Astesice Nanami, 8k base, 5k show, grade 1 with boost. Auto when it's placed on van, you may choose a grade 1 or less from your drop zone and call it to rear guard as rest. And auto when it's placed on rear, it gets +2k power for the turn. I already went over this in the trial deck opening, but I'll go over it again just in case you missed that trial deck opening. When it's placed on van, that's really good because that basically means you get to recycle your discard fodder. Say you dropped a crit, you can call that crit right back. Or say you dropped this thing and you're going second, you can call this and then behind the Vanguard. No, you can call this to a front row and then give it to the Vanguard. Or you might just want to call it behind the Vanguard because it's a 3k and it's not going to hit unless you see a trigger, and they don't see a trigger. So that's good. And then the on place 2k, well, yeah, all the other ride lines, they have like, you know, the +2k regardless if they are placed or not. This one isn't really that bad because Kari can just bounce. So worst case scenario, you have a 10k booster at all times. And the other ones are normally like on hit or like on swing. So I'm going to give Nanami that pass. I mean, granted, you have to get it out of soul and somehow get it into hand from drop, which I don't think this deck can do unless I'm completely forgetting a bunch of cards. But either way, it's a really nice grade 1, especially in the ride line, 1 of. On to our grade 2s. 4 copies of Distinct Word Sense Floor. 6k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Auto when it's placed on rear from hand, reveal the top card of your deck. And if it's a non-grade 2 unit card, call it an open rear guard circle. If you could not call the card, put the reveal card on the bottom. So both players get to see it, and it either gets called or it goes to bottom. So if it's an order of grade 3, if it's a grade 2 or an order, it goes to bottom. And if it's not, you get to call it. Oh, you have to call it. There's no if. There's no you may. You have to call it. So if it's a trigger, you're calling it regardless if you want to or not. So I guess that's fine because Kari can still call stuff from hand during your battle phase, and this could essentially lead you to get like a stronger unit out of it. I have not used it this way before because 1, I never see my floors when I need them to. Like, they're never in my hand when I try this. But 2, I also don't have the guts to do it because I'm afraid I'm going to see a trigger. Because I've learned from Eugene that if I have a sense that there's a trigger at the top, especially if it's the over trigger, listen to that instinct. Because every time I use Eugene, I see the over trigger. I do it to myself too because I always think it's not there. It's there, and I know it is too, but for some reason I think it's not. So 4 is really good. She may have the 6k base, but she does allow you to get an extra rear guard out, especially if you're calling her during the battle phase with a Kari, so a way to get multiple attacks out. So 4 copies of 4. 4 copies of Brilliance and Elegance Aerith. 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept. Auto rear when this unit attacks while boosted. If your Vanguard is Astesice Kari, counterblast 1, choose up to 1 card from your hand and call it to rear, to an open rear. So that's really good because, you know, your deck uses up small amounts of counterblast. If you do run that one grade 1, that I considered running it, and I do sometimes run it, the one grade 1 with, I think, Angel Wings, where it's counterblast 1, reveal 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for a Persona Ride, so Kari can be useful. I can see why you would do that, but like I prefer this one because I don't want to use up too much counterblast in my deck, especially because I run the whale order, so I like to keep my options open. But if you want to run that grade 1, there's no problem with it. It's a really good grade 1. I don't remember its name, of course, but either way, this is really good. Activates when it's boosted, get you an extra attack. Maybe you can call Floor, who can effectively get you another rear guard, even if it has to be to an open rear guard circle. You can call it behind it, or you can call it behind Vanguard circle while you're making plays. All around, Aerith is a really good grade 2, and I love it a lot. 4 of. Our last grade 2 and our main grade 2 is Astesice Kiora. 10k base, 5k shield, grade 2 with intercept, auto van. When it attacks, choose one of your rear guards, and you may return it to hand and continues rear guard during the battle that it was boosted. It gets +5. Okay, once more, same with Nanami. Unless you get this out of soul and then proceed to bounce it back to hand by some miracle, you're not getting to use that second ability. But if you could, you know, plus an 8k booster, that's a 23k swing. Or if you combine it with Emmeline, that is a 27k swing, so really good. But then also, its first skill combos really well with Nanami, because Nanami, when it's placed, you know, calls your discard fodder, and then this on swing next turn can bounce that discard fodder back to hand, so you can discard a crit and then get that crit right back. So basically you got a free ride line discard, which is what I really like about those ride line decks. I like any deck that can bounce hand cards. It always feels really nice to me, and that's why I like Bermuda so much back in the old days, because they could bounce a lot, and that's why part of one of my main decks now is Bermudas, next to Essels, of course. But yeah, and getting those free ride line users, stuff like Zorga, because it has the grade 2 that can bounce an order back to hand, while I guess Rancor Chain discards the order, so it's not fully a free ride line. It still technically is a free ride line move. Same with Baz Vigra, and same with this one. All around, you get like free ride lines, and that's what I like about them so much. So 1 copy of Kiora, if you can use her outside of deck, go ahead, but she's a really good grade 1 regardless. Grade 2 regardless. On to our grade 3s, I forgot this counterblast. 2 copies of Wish Fulfilled by Pair Milla. 11k base, grade 3 to enjoy Persona Ride. Auto when it's placed on rear, counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 1 Dreaming Pupils Emmeline, call it to an open rearguard circle, and shuffle your deck. So a way to search this thing, which is why it's at 2, because A, you can search it, and it's not the best. It's not the worst either, which is why it's at 2. Like, if you want to swap this out for this, or like up this number by 3 and then replace this with the grade 1 that gets you the Persona Ride search, I could see why. But I like conserving my counterblast a lot, and to those of you that know me, I once got restricted from playing with counterblast because me and my friend played on area for only a long time because he never wanted to play in real life. And the problem with that was eventually I wasn't able to use my counterblast because my keyboard computer got broken. So I was only able to use counterblast, and I had to rely on soul. So I become very sensitive to the use of counterblast. So what for you people is like a normal counterblast usage of like 2, for me that is like extremely expensive, and it will bother me immensely to use. So I'm very conservative about how I use my counterblast. Not as much as Soul Boss though. And I'm slowly getting back to fixing that. Either way, Mill is a really interesting card because, you know, she gets you that call of Emmeline, and if you combine her with Astesice Kari, you basically can get a free call them out. So all around, I like Milla a lot. You can get 5 attacks with Kari if you play this right, so 2 copies. 3 copies of Selfie Practice Annalise, grade 3 Twin Ray Persona Ride 12k base, auto rear at the end of the battle that attacked while boosted. Put it to soul, choose one of your rear guards and gets +5 for the turn. So I really like that because 1, yeah, it has to be boosted, but it goes to soul, and Kari's main resource is soul, so it's really nice that, you know, it's a way to go to soul. And if you want to run Munching Girl because this gives you more soul, you can. And not to mention, it still gives someone +5, meaning you can swing with them without having to boost, and then you have the booster that you boosted this thing with earlier, followed by the thing that just swung to bounce it back to hand with Kari's skill. You can call them, like say for example the unit that just swung was Milla. You can bounce the booster, you can bounce Milla, and then use Kari's skill at the end of the battle, call Milla, and then call the booster to the back row, use Milla's skill, counterblast 1, search your deck for Emmeline, and while they did miss the triggers, you got 2 more attacks out of it for really powerful skills. So all around, I like Annalise a lot. She's actually I'm not gonna say she's a staple, but I see her running around in a lot of decks because she's really good. Like, she gets you the soul, she gets you power, she enables combos for open rearguard circle plays, all around amazing grade 3, and I love her. 3 copies, especially Felt Rosa. And then our last normal unit, which is our main grade 3. 3 copies in the main deck, 1 copy in the ride deck of Astesice Kari. Grade 3, 200 Persona Right, 13k base. Auto Van, when this unit attacks, Soul Blast 1, choose up to 2 of your rear guards to return to the hand. Really good news about this is you don't have to return 2, it says up to 2. If you just want to Soul Blast, you can. I don't know why you do it. I feel like you just Soul Blast 1 at least to bounce 1. And then it also doesn't have to attack a Vanguard for it, so you can just swing it to rear guard if like the Vanguard can't hit, or like you don't want to waste your over trigger pull, and just in case you think your over trigger's at the top. So all around, really nice for that. And then Auto Van, at the end of the battle that attacked, if you Persona Road this turn, choose up to 2 cards from your hand, call them to rear guards in different rows. So most of the time, you call them to the same column, and sometimes you don't call them to the same column. Like if you're doing the play that I suggested earlier, you're probably going to call them to different columns. So all around, Kari is really good. If you Persona Ride, that's the problem that is restricted behind the Persona Ride, but they do have that grade 1 searcher that searches the Persona Ride. If you want to run it, get rid of Blue-Haired Prodigy, in my opinion. I have faith in my deck because I somehow draw the Persona Ride really easily, so I don't need to run it in my deck because I've literally seen it every game. If your experience with this deck isn't as fortunate as mine is, run the grade 1. There's no shame in admitting it. Like, the grade 1 is perfectly good, and I love it so much. So Kari, all around, amazing grade 3, embodies the feeling of Bermudas, embodies that bouncing ability, which I love so much about it, and what attracted me to Bermudas in the first place. All around, good card, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the right deck. And then our last 2 cards are both orders. The first one is the Blitz Order Vibrant Symphony, grade 1 Blitz, grade 2 Blitz Order. If an attack hit your Vanguard this turn, choose one of your attack units and it gets plus 30k for the battle. So, if you took an attack this turn, you have the equivalent of 2 triggers on your side. Because you're at 43k base, most likely. My only problem with this is while it is powerful, it requires you to take a hit. And if you're at 5 damage, that immediately makes this useless. And I remember the one time where I had enough to defend myself if I wasn't at 5, because I had this in hand, and I was literally 30k short. Well, I wasn't 30k short. It was more like 10k short, but this was like a card I had in my hand, and I couldn't use it because I was at 5 damage, and I had to take 1 damage, and I didn't pull my heal, which sucked a lot. So Vibrant Symphony in the end, if you're at 5 damage, it will come back to bite you in the ass, but if you're not at 5 damage and you know you can take an attack, take the attack, throw down Vibrant Symphony, get like a pseudo-complete guard or like an easier guard for yourself. Either way, really good order, 3 of. And then our last card is the Set Order Worldwide Special Live Tour. Grade 3 set order. After a set order is played, it goes to Order Zone, completely free to play, thankfully, and then act Order Zone once per turn, Counterblast 2. Choose one of your Vanguards until end of turn. It gets continuous van. All of your rear guards get plus 5. So that is really good. You know, you're counterblasting to this this Milla and Aerith all cost counterblast, which means sometimes you will compete for counterblast and sometimes there's no point in using this. But if you need that extra power push, because if you combine with the overtrade, that's plus 15 to your whole rear guard. I say it's worth it, like, honestly, because because it's an ability that the Vanguard gets and an ability that you get, so all of your rear guards will forever be swinging for plus 15 during that turn. So all around, I like that about Worldwide Special Live Tour. I use it in times where I don't have Anerith, Emmeline, or what was the other grade 3 that counterblast? What was the other card that... Oh, yeah, this is the card that counterblast. So, yeah, if I don't have the other 2, that's when I'll use this, because there are cases where I'll just draw into a bunch of triggers. So, I will use this when I have those cases, just so I can make the triggers more powerful, bounce them back to hand with Kari, do the Persona Right plays, get them back, still get them power. Even if I lose Guardian power out of it, I'm still getting power out of it. So, all around, I like this order a lot. If you don't want to run it, replace this with the grade 1, honestly. But I prefer this just in case you need it, 2 copies, because it's also really cool. And that was the deck, so I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is really fun. It gives you the bounce plays, it lets you call more rear guards, lets you get to the 5 attacks, it gives you a good amount of power out of it. In all honesty, definitely is Bermuda Incarnate. Like, it is my favorite ride line out of all of them. So, like, out of all the Lyrical Monasterio decks, it's my favorite ride line, only to be rivaled by, I want to say it's Angels. Celestials is the only other deck that rivals this in my mind. But it's between these 2. But I know Astesice is higher than Celestials. So all around, I like this deck so much. If you guys want to build this, you can. If you want to build a different version, you can. I don't own, but I have a version of like the Willista Felt Rosa Astesice build. If you want me to show it off, I will. I probably will at some point, but I don't know when. So until then, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join to the Patreon, join the Discord, follow the Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up, your vanguards.